On the sports field, students of the same grade are seen engaging in physical activities. Their current subject is sports. Mr. Jeong is overseeing students taking turns running around the field. Some are waiting for their turn, some are currently running, and others have just finished and are taking a short break. This time, Mr. Jeong is prioritizing female students, encouraging them to complete their rounds quickly and take a quick break. While male students are still waiting, many pass the time chatting with their friends, including Jungkook, Yoonwoo, and Minju sitting on the field, patiently awaiting their turn. Occasionally, their eyes shift towards the female students who haven't completed their activities. Eventually, everyone's attention is drawn to a girl who appears very weak, her face turning red from the sun and her breath noticeably labored. Park Yin, that's enough. Take a break now. Come, sit over here. I still have 3 more rounds, sir. It's alright, take a break. Sit here. The girl named Yin becomes the center of attention for her friends. She's always treated with special consideration by all the sports teachers because they are aware of her asthma condition. Such attention sometimes sparks envy among other female students. While they endure the scorching sun, Yin is the only one being carefully monitored to prevent exhaustion. Now, Yin sits alone near the teacher who is overseeing the other running students. Drink up, Yin. It's in the drink box for all of you. Thank you, sir. She takes a drink from the box and sits back down. Wow, the princess. She's so beautiful. It's a shame she has that condition. She can't afford to get tired at all. I wonder how her family treats her. Of course, she's treated like a princess at home. She comes from a wealthy family. The maids are probably ready to serve her 24/7. I'm more curious about how it'll be when she's married. Why? Do you want to be her husband? I wouldn't say no if she agrees, but I'm curious about how she and her husband will be in intimate moments. What if he gets too excited and plays rough? What if her breathing problem acts up during those times? You, always thinking in dirty directions. Agree with what I said. Having a wife as beautiful as her, not to mention her always gentle manner of speaking. Which man could resist? Surely her husband would want to touch her every night. But can he? With a wife so fragile? That means she needs a husband who is extremely gentle with her. And that doesn't fit my style. Of course, your style is rough. You move like a wild horse. Poor whoever becomes your wife. Who says my wife would be pitiful? She'd probably enjoy it. I'm really curious about who will become her husband. When she gets married, we'll definitely be invited, right? You're hoping for an invitation? Of course, we're her classmates. Besides, she'll surely invite her classmates, right? What do you plan to do when you find out who her husband is? Nothing, just curious. Why not be her husband yourself? Like I said earlier, I'm open to it, as long as she's willing. The question is she willing? Why don't you ask her out? I know she wouldn't accept me. Instead of facing rejection, I'd rather not pursue it. Heartbreak is not enjoyable at all. Jungkook doesn't respond to his friend's ongoing conversation. His eyes are more focused on watching Yin, who repeatedly takes sips of her drink. After a while, Jungkook sighs softly and shifts his gaze back to the field. 5 years later. This is all for your well-being too, Jungkook. I won't force you if you already have a girlfriend, but the fact remains that you don't have one until now. Fine, just arrange it. Jungkook, do you think we're being cruel to you? We're your parents, Jungkook. Of course not. I trust you, Mom and Dad. But I'm curious. Who is this girl? You might already know each other from the same high school. She's a very beautiful and gentle girl. Mom, who is she? Park Yin. Do you know her? Jungkook widens his eyes for a moment before a thin smile appears on his lips. His heart starts beating faster, remembering the girl who was referred to as the princess by his friends during school. We know each other, Mom, even though we were never close before. We were in the same class during our senior year. No wonder. Have you ever been close to a girl? Never, right? But Jungkook, you know she's very gentle, so be kind to her. Be a gentleman. Don't treat her coldly, Jungkook. Jungkook simply nods slowly while smiling thinly at his mother. Yes, without his mother having to say all that, it seems Jungkook is already familiar enough with that girl. Meanwhile, at Yin's residence. But Dad, he's so distant. We were in the same class. He never wanted to interact with girls. I feel really uncomfortable around him, Dad. I prefer a son-in-law like that over a man who is warm and friendly to everyone, especially to women. Jungkook, with his cold demeanor, won't cheat on you, Yin. But what if he treats me very coldly, Dad? Sweetheart, don't jump to conclusions like that. A man won't always be cold once he's married. Do you know why your father likes men like Jungkook? Because he was like that too in the past, right, honey? Yin's father remains silent, not responding to his wife. While Yin smiles, she can already guess why her father doesn't mind Jungkook's cold attitude, because her father was like that in the past. Over time, her father's demeanor changed to become warmer, especially after having children. That's what her mother had told her. In the end, Yin can only sigh softly, hoping that Jungkook, too, will eventually become warmer towards her. After several encounters at family dinners, both Yin's parents and Jungkook's parents finally reached an agreement on the timing and venue for their children's wedding. And finally, the day arrived. Jungkook and Yin got married, attended by thousands of guests, including friends from their school days. Minju and Yoonwoo, not to be left out, couldn't stop teasing Jungkook, who married Yin, the princess in their eyes. Congratulations, buddy. I hope you're happy with the princess. Next, Minju approaches and whispers in Jungkook's ear. Tonight, control yourself, you know? What is the princess like? Control yourself. Don't be too eager. Poor her. Jungkook immediately gives a gentle jab to Minju's stomach, while Yoonwoo laughs, and Minju pretends to be in pain, holding his stomach. The same playful teasing happens from their other friends, many congratulating and teasing both Jungkook and Yin. After all, they were quite surprised to hear the news of Jungkook and Yin's wedding. Unbeknownst to them, the event has come to an end, and now Jungkook and Yin find themselves in the hotel room where they are celebrating. Both have showered and are getting ready for bed. Despite having met several times before, a sense of awkwardness still lingers between them, or perhaps it's more accurate to say that Yin feels uneasy. After all, they were not previously a couple. Meanwhile, Jungkook appears calmer. How do you prefer the room's lighting when you sleep? Me, it's fine, whatever. I need to sleep with dim light. I can't handle it too bright like this. Shall I turn off the lights, so it's not too bright? Oh, okay. Jungkook finally switches off the room lights. Now, the room is dimly lit, not completely dark. He returns to the bed and lies down beside his wife. The atmosphere is truly quiet. Whether they are aware of it or not, the dimly lit room seems to add an intimate touch to the silence of the night. Jungkook glances towards Yin, who is now lying down in the dim light. He can still sense that his wife hasn't fallen asleep yet. Similarly, Yin hasn't been able to sleep either. How could she sleep tonight when her heart has been pounding non-stop? After 10 minutes of silence in the darkness, neither of them initiated a conversation until finally, "You still can't sleep." I don't know why I'm not sleepy. How about you? Why haven't you slept? Do you think I can sleep in our current situation? Well, it seems so. Yin, if we do it tonight, are you ready? Jungkook starts to shift his sleeping position, turning from lying on his back to facing sideways toward his wife. In a twist, as if there's a magnetic pull, Jungkook reflexively leans closer to her face and plants a kiss on one of her cheeks. A moment later, he lifts his body slightly, propping himself up on his arm. Without waiting for her approval, he lands a kiss on her lips. The kiss is gentle but lasts quite a while, not too intense, just soft pecks. Jungkook does it very carefully. Unconsciously, Yin, who was initially silent, starts to follow his lead. What were you about to say earlier? What is it? Are you really not ready? Jungkook asks, now shifting his target to her ear and neck. Yin covers her mouth, her hands tightly shutting it. She's embarrassed, and an unintentional sound escapes her mouth. Jungkook doesn't stop, but continues to inquire. Are you still not ready, baby? Yin's heart beats faster, Jungkook's actions driving her wild. His touches, his voice, everything makes Yin lose her mind. She actually wanted to postpone it until tomorrow, but her husband keeps initiating, not stopping. Yin feels frustrated. What's the point of Jungkook asking if he keeps going on like this? He should have asked without starting, not continuing his activities. One of her hands grips his shoulder tightly as she feels a strong suction on her neck. Meanwhile, her other hand remains firmly covering her mouth to stifle any sounds. Suddenly, he pulls that hand away. Don't cover your mouth. I want to hear your voice. Her cheeks warm at her husband's words. Finally, that night unfolds. In the dim light, the room feels warm, with heavy breaths and panting sounds echoing from both of them. Jungkook truly exercises great self-control. He does it gently and with utmost care. His satisfaction grows knowing he's the first for Yin, a shared first for both of them. Eventually, they reach release together. Jungkook withdraws, lying down beside his wife. He plants a brief kiss on her forehead and gently embraces her. I'm sorry, it seems like I pressured you tonight. Yes, you did. So why did you ask if I was ready or not? I wasn't ready to postpone it tonight. Yin doesn't respond. She tries to steady her breath, and Jungkook does the same, both working to normalize their breathing. Shortly after, they both fall into a deep sleep until morning. The next morning, Yin's eyes slowly open. Her body feels stiff, and the core of her being aches. She turns to the side and doesn't find her husband. Suddenly, are you awake? Yin immediately directs her gaze toward the source of the voice. There sits Jungkook, enjoying a warm beverage and casually playing with his phone. He looks neat and very refreshed. How long have you been awake? 30 minutes ago. Now, get up. We'll have breakfast and head to our new home. Oh, okay. Yin wraps herself in the blanket, getting up from bed with a slight groan. The lower part of her body still feels sore, but she tries to endure it. Covered in the blanket, she walks towards the bathroom. Upon reaching the bathroom door, she sheds the blanket, leaves it on the floor, and proceeds to enter the bathroom. Quietly, Jungkook observes his wife's movements. Now, his gaze shifts to the bed, which lacks a blanket. A thin smile forms on his lips as he notices blood stains along with dried fluid staining the sheets. Images of their activities from last night once again replay in his mind. Unconsciously, Jungkook closes his eyes, massaging his forehead. The visions of his wife's face in the dim light, the sounds emanating from her mouth, her body's scent, everything remains vivid in Jungkook's memory. Oh damn. Suddenly, his desire rises again. Should he engage in it once more this morning? He feels something hardening on his body. Jungkook sighs in frustration. His body seems to be unyielding. Just a little should be fine, he thinks. Finally, Jungkook stands up and walks towards the bathroom. He opens the unlocked door, finding Yin soaking in warm water inside the bathtub. Eventually, he enters. Yin sees her husband looking somewhat puzzled. Jungkook, what's wrong? Jungkook sighs. Why is his wife so captivating? Just hearing her soft voice makes him lose control of his body. Jungkook, I want to be with you, to bathe with you. What? But you've already showered, haven't you? Jungkook doesn't respond. He simply removes all his clothes, standing completely bare. Yin is surprised. Her face turns even redder when she sees her husband's thing possession has hardened. Now, Yin understands Jungkook's intention. Finally, that morning, inside the bathroom, they engage in it once again. There's a different impression this time. Both can look into each other's eyes with bright light, unlike the previous night. Jungkook can clearly see the expressions on his wife's face, and likewise, Yin continues to enjoy the expressions Jungkook makes. It's the shared expression of both restraining the surges in their bodies, an expression both savor. They both become entranced in their love activity once again. 1 month later, it was still daytime when Jungkook hurriedly entered their house. He had just received a call from the maid that Yin, his wife, was experiencing severe shortness of breath due to a worsening asthma attack. He immediately approached Yin, who was currently resting on their bed. He sat at the edge of the bed. How are you feeling? Why did your asthma act like this? It seems the AC was too cold last night. That's why my asthma flared up. Too cold? Can room temperature affect asthma? Yes, if it's too cold. I thought maybe because. Jungkook didn't finish his sentence. Meanwhile, Yin seemed curious about what was on her husband's mind. What is it, Jungkook? Is it because we've been doing it too often? So you're exhausted? And I don't think so. If it were because of that, my asthma would have flared up from the first day of our marriage. But it didn't. It seems this is because our room was too cold last night. Did you intentionally come home from the office because of this? Yes. I was worried about you. Have you eaten? Yin just shook her head slowly, while Jungkook sighed quietly. It's almost 3 p.m., and you haven't had lunch? Yin tried to divert her gaze from his piercing eyes. She knew her husband was close to getting upset. Without saying much more, Jungkook got up and walked out of the room. Jungkook immediately headed to the kitchen and raised his voice a bit. Maids, where are all of you? Come here quickly. All the maids scurried and gathered in front of him, visibly scared, with their heads bowed. None dared to look at their master. They all knew that Jungkook was currently very angry. Why hasn't my wife eaten until now? Among them, no one dared to answer. They all kept their heads down. Do you see what time it is? It's almost 3 p.m. and she hasn't had lunch? What have you all been doing this afternoon? Can't you handle even the task of making sure she has her lunch? Can't you even do that properly? Huh. Suddenly, you call me, saying her asthma has flared up. Why didn't any of you report to me that she hasn't had lunch? How many times has this happened? Answer me. All the maids remained silent. None of them dared to answer. The room fell silent until, Jungkook, don't scold them. I was late for lunch today. It's the first time I've been late for a meal. Jungkook remained silent, not responding to her attempt to defend the maids being scolded. Yin genuinely felt sorry for them, seeing their frightened faces. They repeatedly told me to eat, but for some reason, I didn't have any appetite this afternoon. Just looking at the food made me nauseous. I don't know. It seems my mouth doesn't feel like eating lunch today. Hearing her explanation, Jungkook began to suspect his wife's condition. He gazed deeply into her face, noticing its paleness, signs of weakness and fatigue. Jungkook was genuinely worried about Yin at this moment. Alright, all of you can leave now. The maids dispersed, leaving Jungkook and Yin alone. Shortly after, Jungkook approached Yin, directing his hand to touch her forehead and then moving down to her neck. Jungkook didn't feel any feverish warmth from his wife. Go to the bedroom now. I will call Dr. Bong to come and examine you. Yin nodded obediently and immediately entered their bedroom. After that, Jungkook was seen making a phone call, directly contacting doctor to arrange an appointment for him to come and examine his wife. Shortly after, Jungkook called one of the maids and instructed her to prepare a meal for Yin and deliver it to their bedroom promptly. Jungkook then entered the bedroom to check on his wife's condition. Not long after, a maid arrived carrying a tray with food and drinks for Yin, placing it on the bedside table. Jungkook picked up the plate of food and prepared to feed his wife. You must keep eating, even if it's just a little. Don't let your stomach stay empty. Yin once again could only nod, knowing she couldn't afford to defy Jungkook at the moment, especially after witnessing his stern attitude towards the maids earlier. Struggling against nausea, Yin managed to eat about half of the plate under Jungkook's watchful eye, and when he was about to feed her again, Jungkook, I can't take it anymore. Can we stop now? I feel like I'm going to vomit. Fine, as long as something has entered your stomach. Jungkook then took a sip of water for Yin and instructed her to drink. After finishing, she positioned herself to lie down again, but her eyes continued to watch over her husband, who was still sitting on the edge of the bed. Are you going back to the office? That's the plan, but wait for the doctor to examine you first. For some reason, hearing his response left a sense of disappointment in her. It seemed that in moments like this, she wanted her husband to always be by her side. A few minutes later, a maid conveyed that Dr. Bong had arrived. Jungkook promptly welcomed Doctor and allowed him to proceed with examining her, while Jungkook continued to stand by the bedside, keeping a close watch. Congratulations, Mr. Jungkook. Your wife is currently pregnant. I can conduct a general examination. For a more detailed checkup, please consult a specialist in obstetrics and gynecology. Upon hearing this, both Yin and Jungkook looked surprised. Honestly, it was joyful news for them. After providing the explanation, Dr. Bong bid them farewell. Jungkook immediately approached Yin, who was still lying down. He gently caressed her slim belly, a faint smile appearing on his face. Did you hear that, baby? You're pregnant. Soon, we'll have a child. So, take care of yourself and never skip your meals again, okay? Yin nodded with a smile, then she touched her husband's hand, who was now gently feeling her belly. Their hands were now intertwined. Can't you stay with me here? Don't go back to the office today. I just want to be close to you. Jungkook looked at his pleading wife. Eventually, he sighed, and shortly after, he nodded. Alright then. Yin smiled satisfactorily hearing what Jungkook said. Next, she watched her husband rise from his seat, start to take off his suit, shirt, changing into casual clothes for home. After finishing, he walked to the other side of the bed and lay down next to his wife. Jungkook's strong hand now slipped over his wife's belly, caressing it directly on her smooth skin. A happy smile continued to adorn both of their faces. Days continued to pass. After undergoing an ultrasound examination at the hospital, Yin was confirmed pregnant with twins. The gender wasn't known yet as it was still not visible. On the other hand, Yin's condition was getting weaker day by day. Jungkook was genuinely worried. He could imagine how fragile his wife would be during pregnancy, especially with twins. Jungkook often came home early from the office to accommodate his wife's requests. Sometimes he also took leave when her condition was exceptionally weak. Jungkook became increasingly vigilant. The maids in the house also became more proactive in fulfilling her needs, not wanting their master to get angry as it happened before. Jungkook's anger at that time indeed had a lasting effect on them. Now, they were genuinely taking care of Yin more closely and remained on high alert. They both are now getting ready for bed. Jungkook, I'm not ready for tomorrow yet. Yes. Tomorrow is Yin's scheduled cesarean section. The doctor recommended a safer approach considering her current condition, especially given her history of asthma. Delivering through normal means would pose high risks. Everything will be fine, trust me. You'll be taken care of by the best doctors in Korea, so don't worry, okay? Our children will be born tomorrow. Yes, I can't wait for them. The next day, Yin's parents and Jungkook's parents took turns joyfully cradling their twin grandchildren. Yes, they were indeed twins, a boy and a girl. The baby boy looked handsome like his father, while the baby girl resembled her mother's beauty. While the grandparents took turns doting on their grandchildren, Jungkook, as a husband, remained faithfully seated beside his wife. He never allowed his wife to be neglected after giving birth. Amidst everyone's attention on the babies, Jungkook focused even more on his wife. He didn't want Yin to feel overlooked. Thank you, baby. Because of you, My life is truly perfect. I love you. Love you too. Their eyes were now on their parents, who were visibly delighted to welcome their twin grandchildren. The room was filled with happiness.